Welcome to the Larson Health Podcast, where we bridge science, nutrition, and functional medicine to help you heal from the inside out. I'm Kim Larson. I'm a certified functional nutrition coach, fast like a girl coach, and founder of Larson Nutrition, larsonnutrition.com, as well as larsonbotanicals.com. Here we talk about real health transformation, how food, metabolism, hormones, and lifestyle work together to either move you forward or move you toward disease or toward a long term resilience. So today's episode is going to be about peptides. And I want to start with a sentence that almost nobody says out loud in the wellness world. And that's why so many people end up confused. There is real scientific research on peptides. There is not equal quality research across all peptide categories. And most wellness conversations exaggerate, certainly, where the science is still emerging because peptides are not new. Your body is running on peptides right now. Peptides are short chains of amino acids, typically 2 to 50, and their main job is signaling. They're messengers. They tell cells what to do and when to do it. That's not an opinion, that's basic physiology. Insulin is a peptide hormone. Glucagon is a peptide. Many gut hormones that regulate appetite and satiety are peptides. Ghrelin and does my microphone keep moving? So, ghrelin and leptin. So, when someone says peptides are the future, I want you to hear this. Peptides are the present, and they're also the past. The difference now is that we've gone we've gotten better at isolating, synthesizing, and using peptides in different ways. And that's where things get complicated and where marketing runs ahead of science. So let's create some clarity around all this. There are three big peptide worlds that get lumped together under one word. It's one, FDA approved peptide drugs, two, unapproved injectable wellness peptides and compounded peptides, and three, food derived bioactive peptides, the nutrition science side of it all. And those three worlds do not carry the same evidence, quality, risk profile, or realistic expectations. I'm going to sneeze. Before I even touch outcomes like food noise or body composition, you need to understand one thing. In science, evidence comes in tiers, right? So mechanistic studies are first. That means cell culture or pathway research. That kind of study can tell you this molecule interacts with that receptor, or this pathway changes, but it does not prove real world outcomes in humans. Animal studies come next. They're helpful for mechanism and early safety signals, but they're not a guarantee of human results. Then small human trials, often short term, small sample sizes. I don't know why this is doing this. And finally, large randomized controlled trials. The closest thing we have to high confidence. That's where you get consistent efficacy signals, dosing clarity, and adverse event monitoring. One reason peptides are so messy online is that many wellness peptide claims are essentially tier 1 and tier 2 science. Mechanisms and animal data being marketed like tier 4 certainty. And that's not how real evidence works. Now, let's start with the area where science is strongest, peptide drugs. GLP-1 receptor agonists are peptide based medications used for diabetes and obesity. If you've heard of semaglutide, liraglutide, or similar medications, this is that category. These drugs have large human randomized controlled trials showing improvements in A1C, weight, and cardiometabolic risk markers. They work by increasing glucose independent insulin secretion, suppressing glucagon. Literally, my microphone keeps moving. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. I think it's like backed up or something. Anyway, let's see. Okay, now it's fixed. So I'm sorry, human randomized controlled trial showing improvements in A1C, weight, and cardiometabolic risk markers. They work by increasing glucose dependent insulin secretion, suppressing glucagon, slowing the gastric emptying, and influencing appetite signaling in the brain. Those are well characterized mechanisms, and the clinical outcomes are documented in large trials. That's tier 4 evidence, high confidence, but also these are medications, not supplements. They override physiology more directly and they require medical supervision. Now, the second category, unapproved injectable peptides that are trending in wellness and longevity spaces. This is where you hear names like BPC 157, TB 500, CJC 1295, ipamorelin, AOD 9604, and more. Here's what's important to know. This category is not all fake, but it is not supported by the same kind of large, long-term human trial data as peptide drugs. And regulators have raised specific concerns. The FDA has page listing certain bulk drug substances used in compounding that may present significant safety risks, including concerns like immunogenicity risks, peptide related impurities, and limited safety related information for certain peptides. You can find it in the US Food and Drug Administration. On top of that, mainstream medical reporting has been warning that injectable peptides sold as research chemicals are unregulated, potentially contaminated, or mislabeled, and often lack robust trials. So there's a full study in the Washington Post. It's called Two Very Well Health Plus Two. That doesn't mean people haven't had experiences. It means the evidence base is not strong enough to market certainty, and the supply chain risk is real. Now, the third category, and this is where your conversation can be, powerful without becoming hype, is food-derived bioactive peptides. This is the nutrition research side. These are peptides produced when food proteins are broken down by digestion, fermentation, or enzymatic hydrolysis, creating smaller peptide fragments that can have biological effects. I can tell you that I've been taking a make peptide that quiets the food noise, and it's been amazing. It's not an injectable, it's all natural, made with all natural ingredients. And this make peptide has been incredible for helping me quiet the food noise. I have had food noise throughout my whole life, but once you become post menopause or past 50, men and women, there is a real problem with that food noise, and you're constantly eating and not giving your body a break by fasting. So this is where I want to talk about how that helps. So I've taken it this morning. I do not feel I started feeling a little hungry this morning for some reason, and I had eaten at 6 o'clock last night, which is kind of late for me. So I was curious, like, why am I feeling so hungry this morning? So anyway, I took my peptide and I have no food noise whatsoever. I, it's, 10 o'clock Eastern or 10:10 Eastern. And I might eat around noon or I don't know, whenever I'm hungry. So I can tell you when I'm going to do the 3-day water fast, I will be taking this peptide because it will not interrupt my fasting, and it will help me with quieting the food noise. So because I know that within the first 24 hours there's going to be some food noise. So I just want to quiet that noise, make it a little bit easier for me to get through it. You could call it maybe a crutch, but I really enjoy this peptide and I take it every single day and it's amazing. So There are broad reviews on this in peer-reviewed nutrition literature. For example, there's a 2020 review in Nutrients discussing bioactive peptides from food proteins and summarizing reported activities like antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, immunomodulator, modulatory, anti-hypertensive, and other functional properties. You can find it in PMC. Then there are papers focusing specifically on glucose regulation and insulin sensitivity. A 2022 review available on PubMed Central covers protein hydrolysates and bioactive peptides in the regulation of blood glucose and insulin sensitivity, categorizing food derived peptides by mechanisms and discussing challenges and opportunities in peptide discovery. You can find that research in PMC. Now let's talk about the question your listeners are my listeners will ask immediately is, do oral peptides even do anything? Don't they just get digested? Well, this is where the science is more nuanced than most people realize. Some peptides do get broken down. Many do. But we have human evidence that certain small peptide fragments can appear in circulation after oral ingestion. A good example is collagen hydrolysate research. There's human work showing hydroxyproline containing peptides rise in blood after collagen hydrolysate ingestion, including a 2014 paper in Food Chemistry discussing dose dependent changes of those peptides in human blood. You can find it in Science Direct. And there's a 2018 pilot study available on PubMed Central that detected a specific collagen derived peptide cyclic pro HYP in human plasma after collagen hydrolysate ingestion, building the case that at least some collagen derived peptide fragments can be detected post ingestion. You can find that study in PMC. This does not mean every oral peptide supplement acts like an injectable peptide drug. I can tell you the one I'm taking seems like it is. So it means the blanket statement oral peptides can't do anything is not accurate. Oral peptides can influence physiology in two major ways. First, some small peptide fragments may enter circulation and exert efforts. Now, these are studies. I can tell you that what's working for me is to take this one peptide and I am not hungry. It is amazing how it shuts it off. Now, I do know that when I take this peptide, I need to make sure that I'm getting the quality of protein that I need. So I take it in my coffee. I take a collagen. I take some cocoa. It's 100% cocoa. It's organic. So it has no, and it's also third party tested for lead. So it's a great getting some nutrients into the body, but it's all very small in calories. And then I will make sure when I eat my first meal, it will be vegetables and protein. So I'm or berries. So usually what I have is I will have a plain Greek yogurt and I'll put in organic raspberries, blueberries, blackberries. I put in chia seeds. I'll put in some Shaklee 100% grass-fed whey protein. I'll put in some PB Fit organic peanut butter protein powder. I'll put in avocado, half an avocado. I'll put in, gosh, there's so many goodness things in there. And I am so stuffed after that. So I'm making sure that I'm getting my protein. I'm making sure I'm getting polyphenols from the berries. I'll make sure that I'm getting some healthy fat from the avocado. And I am full until about 3 or 4 o'clock. And then I have my dinner. I'll make sure that I have, I don't know, maybe some oh, chicken breast or chicken, pulled chicken out. I'll make some soup maybe with chicken in it and a bunch of vegetables in it, or I'll have chicken and broccoli or green beans or spinach sauteed with some garlic and butter. Or olive oil. I'll have a salad maybe with some extra virgin olive oil and some red wine vinegar and some spices. So I just make sure that I'm getting my vegetables. I'll eat my vegetables first to kind of ease the digestion, and then I will have my protein. So I want to make sure that I'm maxing out on my protein for the day. I'm trying to get at least 100 grams within 2 meals. And that's a challenge. You got to eat a lot of protein. And I'm full with the peptide, but I could tell you that it's really helping me quiet the noise. So, second, and this is probably the bigger mechanism for most nutrition based peptide products, peptides can act through the gut. Your gut is not just a digestion tube, it's an endocrine organ. It produces peptide hormones that regulate hunger, satiety, blood sugar, and energy partitioning. So when people talk about food noise, what they're often describing is dysregulated hunger and satiety signaling, ghrelin patterns, GLP-1 response, peptide YY response, glucose variability, dopamine driven reward eating, and stress hormones like cortisol influencing cravings. It's amazing when you start to get cravings. Like I'll have cravings for salty, crunchy. And so I keep thinking about like popcorn or potato chips. But what I grab instead is maybe some pistachios, 2 Brazil nuts to make sure that I'm getting my, I'm trying to remember, 2 Brazil nuts give me my, it helps with my thyroid. So I'll have 1 or 2, and I usually have those, I might even just have 1 because you don't wanna get too much of this, supplement that's in the Brazil nuts. God, I can't think of it. Anyway, I'll share it later. This is where your lived experience matters, and we just have to phrase it correctly. You said, what I do is my make lean quiets the food noise, and not just for me, but for many others. And that fit seems to change body composition in a short period. So I'm seeing less fat in about 3 weeks, which is amazing. So I'm seeing that my stomach has gone down because what I did was a mistake. Like in Halloween or right leading up to Halloween, I did a show for my Larson Botanical products, and I did it at this women's event, and I had a big pot of candy, right? I had one of everything because they were on sale or whatever. And I thought for sure everybody would enjoy them, but 3 pieces were taken. So we gave as much away as we could, fill up in bags for the kids that live where we live. And then we still had candy left over. Well, I would just grab 1 or 2, maybe 3 or 4 each day, but every day until it was all gone. And what do you know? I put on 10 pounds. So it's amazing as we get older how quickly we make those little changes in our diet and bam, you put on the weight. It's just that easy. So you've got to make sure you're working out. You got to make sure that you're quieting the food noise. You got to make sure you're eating properly. So it really does help me that I'm using these make uh, uh, peptides that are quieting the food noise. It's called lean. And then I take a fit that also helps burn the fat and helps burn the fat and maintain the muscle. It's just another peptide that I'm taking. So here's the science behind that all. First, personal experience is real. If your food noise quiets down, that's a meaningful outcome. Second, in science, we don't jump immediately to this product caused this outcome unless we have controlled trials. We say this is an observed effect, and here are plausible mechanisms that may contribute. Third, we acknowledge that some factors could contribute at the same time, right? Hydration changes, electrolytes shift, improve sleep, reduce stress eating, altered caffeine timing, which I typically don't get caffeine. There's a little bit in the fit, but that's all I have for the day. Better adherence to protein, reducing snacking, better glucose stability, even expectancy effects. So none of that invalidates your experience or my experience. It just keeps this all honest and protects the credibility of what we're talking about. So if it works for me and it's been working for several other people, I know it'll work for a lot of other people. Maybe not for everybody, but it works for a lot of other people. So now, what are the plausible mechanisms for reduced food noise in a nutrition based peptide blend? It's appetite and satiety hormones respond to protein and peptide fragments in the gut. So the research landscape includes work showing protein hydrolysates and peptide fragments can affect glucose regulation and insulin sensitivity pathways. And that's the gut peptide signaling is part of the conversation. And this is a study that's in PMC. Two ingredients that affect stress and cognition can lower compulsive eating. If the product you're taking includes L-theanine, GABA, lemon balm, ashwagandha, bacopa, phosphat phosphatidylserine, those are all ingredients commonly studied for stress response, cognition, and calm focus. When the nervous system is less activated, cravings often drop. So there's also caffeine with calming co-effects can improve energy without spiking appetite. Many people don't realize that stimulant-driven eating patterns can show up as I need a snack to keep going. When what's really happening is energy instability and stress response. That's why I don't drink caffeine because it makes me all hyper and it makes me want to eat more. Everybody's different, obviously, but you want to just check and see and make sure what caffeine and pay attention to what caffeine is doing to you. And maybe switch to maybe doing a half and half caffeine, half decaf, or slowly working yourself off of caffeine and only have it occasionally. So, also, we want to talk about hydration and electrolytes can dramatically change perceived hunger. Sodium, potassium, and magnesium, these can influence fatigue and cravings. So, I want you to understand that the point is not lean contains a miracle peptide that turns off hunger. The point is, food noise is a neurometabolic signaling problem, and products that support stress, glucose stability, hydration, and gut signaling may help some people experience less food noise. It certainly helps me and thousands of other people taking this product. So that's just honest. Now, the fit conversation, this is the orange drink that I put into my water that helps with body composition. I want to also share that it needs integrity, right? So early changes over 3 weeks can be real, right? It's helped me lower. I mean, my gut was protruding quite a bit. It still is protruding a little bit, but it has flattened so much in 3 weeks. But there's often a mix of factors to like reduced inflammation, less bloating, improved water balance, better workout recovery, better adherence, better protein utilization, better sleep, and yes, potentially improved energy partitioning, right? So, do food derived peptides have any plausible connection to metabolic and obesity pathways? There's review literature discussing the potential of food derived bioactive peptides as functional foods or nutraceuticals to manage obesity and diabetes, including a 2023 review on PubMed Central that synthesizes this area. And there are also more recent reviews on food derived bioactive peptides and their potential health benefits across conditions, including diabetes and hypertension. Though, as always, that doesn't mean every commercial blend has direct human trial evidence for each claimed outcome, and that's in PMC. So, again, the honest stance is we have a scientific rationale for why nutrition based bioactive peptides and protein hydrolysates might support metabolic pathways and signaling. We have stronger human outcome data for some peptide categories, like collagen derived peptides and connective tissue outcomes. We have growing but uneven evidence across other food peptide categories. And we have far less high quality long term human evidence for many injectable wellness peptides. And we say that out loud because trust matters. Now, I want to talk about the difference between supportive and therapeutic claims. Supportive claim, this may support satiety, energy, and recovery for some people, right? Therapeutic claim, this treats obesity or cures metabolic disease. In the supplement world, we all have to stay in supportive language. So not because we're trying to minimize the value or because that's the boundary of evidence and regulation. So now let's bring this all together in a way that gives you a framework that you can actually use. Here are the 3 questions I want you to think about anytime you hear the word peptide. What category is this peptide in? Is this a prescription drug with human RCTs? Is it an unapproved injectable wellness peptide with limited human data and potential purity risks? Is it a food-derived bioactive peptide product, maybe operating through nutrition and gut signaling? Question 2, what evidence tier is being used to market this? Are they citing mechanisms, animal work, small human trials, or large RCTs? And question 3, what outcomes are they promising? And is that outcome realistic given the evidence? If someone is promising drug level fat loss or muscle gain or healing with minimal lifestyle work, that's a red flag. Now, I want to pause and address something that I think you'll appreciate. The reason peptides have become such a hot topic is because people are desperate for relief. They're tired, they're inflamed, they have food noise, they can't lose the weight, their joints hurt, their sleep is broken, their stress is high, their labs are trending in the wrong direction. I know because I was there. And I could tell you what I was eating. I was eating frozen pizza. Oh my God, I would add some extra pepperoni to the pizza. I'd buy whatever was at the grocery store in the frozen section. I would have pepperoni and some spices, and man, was that delicious. And then I would get the tub of cookie dough and I would make my little cookies and put it in the oven. The house smelled of cookies. Well, gained 45 pounds doing that. And I gained prediabetes, high blood pressure, high triglycerides, arthritis in my knee and in my neck. And I was like, what is going on? Why is this happening? Well, this was all during COVID. I couldn't go out and run because I was afraid. I was living on the 41st floor and I was, wanting to take an elevator with other people that I don't know if they've got COVID, right? We could all wear masks and everything, but we didn't know the science. This was early on. So the stress was high and my labs were trending in the wrong direction. So peptides become the shiny object, but I could tell you that it was when I had started studying nutrition and studying functional nutrition that I learned how food makes a difference and healed my body. No longer have prediabetes or diabetes, no longer have high blood pressure, no longer have high triglycerides, and I don't have arthritis. So I was able to get rid of the inflammation. Arthritis is just inflammation of the joint. That's all arthritis is, inflammation of the joint. You get rid of the inflammatory foods and you help your arthritis. I used to have to take the stairs one at a time because I couldn't bend the one knee because I had arthritis in it. So when I figured all that out and I stopped eating the pizza and I stopped eating the cookies and I started eating chicken and broccoli or pork tenderloin and spinach sauteed, always cook your spinach because it has high oxalates. Or, I don't know, Brussels sprouts that I would roast in the oven, whatever it was, but I was having vegetables and protein. I was having berries and yogurt. Then that almost is like a dessert. Now I would add the fiber of the chia seeds or flax seeds or something to make sure that I was getting the fiber that I need. You're also getting fiber from the berries. But by changing those items in my diet, I was able to get rid of all of the disease, get rid of the inflammation in my joints. And you can do it also. But the body doesn't run on shiny objects. It runs on fundamentals: blood sugar regulation, protein intake and muscle, sleep and circadian rhythm, nervous system downshifting, micronutrients, gut integrity and inflammation control and movement. So I started working out. Our gym that was downstairs started doing everything online. So I started working out in our second living room. I was making sure that I was getting the right foods. I was controlling the inflammation. I was getting movement. I was making sure that I was going to bed at the same time within a half hour every night. I was making sure I was getting up around the same time, which I'm an early riser anyway. So I have to get to bed early because I wake up so early that if I, well, sometimes I can sleep in, which I love when I can sleep in, but I wake up so early that I have to get to bed early if I'm going to get a good night's sleep. And you gotta watch your blood sugar regulation, right? You gotta watch your gut integrity, so that's why I'm gonna do this 3-day fast, water fast, because I've been getting a little bit of, oh, my stomach or whatever from something that I ingest or something that I take, which tells me I probably have a leaky gut. Something tore my gut lining. I don't know what it was, but something did, something that I ate out, and it wasn't a good product for me. Unfortunately, as I got older, my body has become more sensitive to anything that is not of good quality. So I have a little bit of that. I'm going to do a 3-day fast. I hope you guys will join me. It is January 6th to January 9th. I'm going to go through all the process. Every day I've been doing a live on Facebook talking about what to have for your fast. So you're going to want to make sure that you have uh, electrolytes. There's Dr. Berg has some electrolytes. You can get it on Amazon. You can get LMNT. I use LMNT. I like LMNT probably the best. It does have a strong flavor, so I break it up between 2 bottles. So I have 1 packet between my 2 bottles. So, because it's really strong, but my husband has one of these and he puts the whole thing in. So everybody's different. Depends on what you want. So, but peptides, nutritional peptides especially, can be layered on top of that, right? So when you're eating well and then you put in nutritional peptides on top, they can support signaling. They can make the system work better. They can help adherence by making energy and cravings more manageable, but they don't replace the basics. We still have to watch our sleep. We still have to eat right. We still have to do uh, anti-inflammatory foods. Now, we need a section on safety because I'm an ethical educator, and I'm going to say the quiet part out loud, right? Because injectable peptides sold outside of regulated medical channels can be risky. And the risks aren't just theoretical, they are concerns about contamination, mislabeling, dosing uncertainty, and the fact that many of these peptides are not FDA approved. You can find this in the Washington Post. And the FDA has explicitly described as safety concerns for certain peptide substances used in compounding, citing issues like immunogenicity risk and peptide related impurities for certain peptides. You can find that at the US Food and Drug Administration. And that matters because when you inject something, you bypass the gut. You bypass one of the body's main safety filters. So the standard should be higher, not lower. Now, as we come to near a close, I want to leave you with the most important takeaway of the entire episode. Peptides are messengers. The goal is not to overpower your body. The goal is to restore signaling so your body can regulate itself again. If a nutrition based peptide product helps you feel calmer around food, which it helps me with the make, helps you feel more stable energy, which it does with the fit, helps you recover better, helps you feel like your appetite is less chaotic, that's meaningful. But it should be framed as this supports my physiology, not this is proven to do X for everyone. So I know that thousands of people it's helped, but it's not for everybody. Like there's a restore peptide that is to help with sleep. I don't have a problem sleeping, and it was actually causing problems for me to sleep. Now, for other people, it really helps them dive into deep sleep. But I could tell you that I already have, an hour and a half, hour 45 of deep sleep. I already have an hour and a half of light sleep. I already have an hour and a half of dreaming. I already have really good sleep. So it doesn't matter if you're trying to take something, but if you are struggling with sleep, there's a peptide to help you with sleep. And if someone is pushing certainty where the science is still emerging, you should be skeptical, not because science is bad, but because real science is humble. So, if this episode helped you understand peptides in a clearer, more grounded way, make sure you're subscribed to my podcast, subscribe to my newsletters. Check out larsonnutrition.com and sign up for my newsletters to get this this information in a blog with all the links. And if you want metabolic support that's rooted in physiology and evidence, you can visit larsonnutrition.com, and you can listen to the Larson Health Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And if you want to learn more about our work, you can visit larsonnutrition.com. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.